The approach to Flowerfruit Mountain was a quiet one. The long battle had taken its toll on the group, and each step was more exhausting than the previous. It had been a hard-fought battle, pushing each other to their absolute limit, but the evil was defeated, and now everyone could rest in the safety of Monkey King's territory. The sun shone down with a radiant sort of glow, as if celebrating the hero's return. A gentle breeze carted through each leaf on the trees surrounding them, their fruit ripe and waiting to be picked by hungry hands, bobbing back and forth with each motion the trees made. Wukong sighed in relief as he walked through the fields of his home, listening to his troops squabble and cheer with a gentle smile. It was good to return, and know that they were all faring well. Back when he had left for his journey to the west, he'd often be gone for months, maybe even years at a time. Coming home to find new cubs had arrived into the world and old friends had passed away, it had always been a difficult thing for him to try and comprehend. He'd say he didn't understand why some of the monkeys didn't accept his offer of immortality, but he did. Wukong had been alive a long time and had seen many friends lowered into the ground. After existing for so long, life lost its spark. Craning his head over his shoulder to watch his MK gripped onto a flustered Red Sun's arm, he smiled softly, content to listen to his student try to whine his way into a piggyback from the fire wielder. It was good that MK had friends he could depend on. Wukong had friends in the past, back when the nights on the mountain were lit up by good company and an even better wine. Things didn't seem so lonely back then. Existing until the end of time hadn't been something he would ever think of as daunting. In fact, it was all he thought he wanted. Youthful ignorance, he supposed. Those nights had long gone, silence reigning supreme where joy had once made itself home. His friends were gone, and he couldn't help but feel like his heart had left with them. Loneliness was the closest thing he had to a companion, as ironic as that sounded. But he had no one else to blame for his grief, now he truly pushed everyone away. He'd done it to himself. Wukong had made too many mistakes and tried much too late to fix them. Which is why he was so damn proud of his student. The kid was like a cub to him, one of his own. The two were similar, it wasn't anything new. But MK never let his pride get in the way that Wukong did. He never pushed anyone away, even at his worst. He truly believed there was always a way to work past an issue as friends. Where Wukong was quick to resort to violence, the kid was adamant it'd be used as a last resort. He was just unlucky in the fact that the demons they had encountered wouldn't respond in kind. Son Wukong had quickly decided he wanted to be there to watch his student grow and flourish. He wanted to teach MK to be better than he had been, to not make the same mistakes he had. After all, isn't that what a father does for his child? His child, huh? Yeah, he could get used to saying that. A hollow pang was quick to evaporate the warmth blooming in his chest. When he was younger, Wukong had been adamant he didn't want kids. Why would he need one? It wasn't like he needed to carry on his legacy. He was already 6 times immortal. His lover had always dropped the conversation after he'd said something along those lines, quick to act as if he didn't mind either way. How ironic that hundreds of years after laying his love within the ground, he found himself longing for what he could have had all along. He understood what his moon meant now. A child wasn't just to continue a legacy. A child was something new and soft and beautiful in a way nothing else could ever hope to measure up to. Watching your child flourish was a feeling that couldn't be beaten. Pride swelling up with every breath in their lungs and every step they take forwards. It was too late to admit that, as usual, his moon had been right. Much too late. Oh, he could remember it like it was yesterday. Wukong had been set on a particularly nice patch of grass, back against the bark of his favorite tree. The 6-eared macaque's head lay on his lap as he ran a hand through silky fur, ears twitching whenever Wukong's hand got too close. They had picked the perfect place to relax and eat fruit. The shade just enough to shield them from the hot sun, while still letting Wukong admire how pretty his love looked as he lay basking in its glow. Have you ever thought about having kids? The offhand comment from the other made Wukong choke on the peach he was eating, coughing lightly as he wiped any juice from his chin before it got into Macaque's hair. He always hated having bad hair days. Face flushing red, Wukong chuckled lightly. What brought that on, Plum? Warn a guy first, eh? Huffing in response, the dark-haired monkey opened his eyes, his expression turning pensive. We've been married for a while now, Wukong. I didn't really think it would be such a taboo topic. Pouting at his love's expression, Wukong leaned down to press sticky lips to Macaque's forehead, laughing at the other's annoyed groan. Ah, it's not taboo. You can say anything you want to me and I'll listen, even if I don't understand. His love looked up at him from where his head lay on his lap, eyebrows furrowed slightly with a soft pout on his lips. Then what about it? How would you feel about it? Leaning back against the tree with a hum, Wukong shrugged, mouthful as he spoke. I don't know. Kids are a lot of work, aren't they? Who wants a smelly, messy thing around all day? Not me! That plus diapers? No thanks. Right. The shadow's dejected tone made him look down in confusion, feeling increasing tenfold when he refused to make eye contact. Do you want kids? Hearing Wukong speak, Macaque sighed softly, finally looking up at him. Nah, I'm fine either way, so long as I get to stay beside you. Before Wukong could point out the other's clearly not okay tone, his lips were captured in a soft kiss, effectively distracting him from any thought he previously had. If only he had realized then how much he really hadn't deserved the six-eared macaque. Those warm days were gone. They had left the second he had brought his staff down onto his love's skull. He was miserable, truly. Waking every day expecting his love to be curled in the blanket stolen from him throughout the night, only to find it wasn't some horrid nightmare. And he had really murdered the one and only thing he had ever truly loved more than himself. Humming, he broke out of his trip to the past, laughing softly as he noticed that Red Sun's resolve had finally wavered down, and he now carried MK on his back, trying their best to look as if they weren't enjoying the way MK's arms wrapped themselves around her. Yeah, they'd be better than the mess Wukong had made of his own relationship. Alright, Girl Scouts, head inside and hit the hay, or sleep out here with the monkeys. Either way, get some rest, you hear? Hearing a choir of tired agreements, he nodded in satisfaction, watching as everyone made their way to wherever they had deemed acceptable to sleep for the next few hours. The only thing stopping him from doing the same thing were his troop. Whilst a few had settled down on the tree branches after the commotion had died down, a few still lingered, staring at something Wukong couldn't seem to see himself. It wasn't like them to stare into the shadows so intensely. His monkeys were full of life and loved nothing more than playing in the sun. Hey, what's wrong, guys? Stare any harder and I might start to think something is actually there. His laughter faded into a nervous chuckle as his subjects completely blanked him. Instead, backing away from whatever it was they could see within the shadows, to the safety of the cuddle pile the others had made on the lush grass. That was weird. Muttering to himself in confusion, Wukong sat next to the group, watching over them as they slept. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. He didn't need to question anything right now. His mind was clearly tired, and the possession was probably just lingering a little. As soon as it left, so would the unsettling atmosphere. Closing his eyes, Wukong let himself drift off, failing to notice the light touch of a palm against his cheek, its cold thumb soothing him deeper into the slumber the same way it had centuries before.